Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to another Cold Reads. This is the Cold Reads for Riftside Book 1 by Cassius Lang and Henrik Sater. Sater? I'm going to have to learn how to say that name before I record the credits. And my name is Justin Thomas James. And I am dragging butt, as my dad would say. Not dragon butt, but dragging. But in a North Philadelphia accent. I'm dragging butt. Yeah, that's what's going on today. So, anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this live, well, I know there's nobody watching this live because there's 0 viewers at this moment. But if you are, then please say hello, share a comment, and let me know that you exist. I'd love to know that you exist. And if you are watching this not live, if you're not alive while you're watching this, then ghosts are real, and that's pretty cool. But if you are alive and you're watching this and it is not live that you are watching it, then leave a comment. And yeah, and for anybody watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you enjoy this content, that's the best way to keep getting more of it. So yeah, like and subscribe and do all that. And we'll keep on doing cold reads. We'll keep on doing... we'll keep on reading books and bringing you the content that you like. That is that. All right. Well, it's a slow morning today. Not too many people joining us, it seems. Maybe people will trickle in later. But that is all right because I want to get to work. So, where were we? Last time we ended on chapter 3, and Ash and his party of scavengers were in the Rift, the Twisted Titan dungeon, and they nearly died in the last chapter, but now they're doing all right. I'm just going to listen to a little bit of the last chapter just to get a feel for where we're at.
Ah! The sound drove ice picks into my skull, but I couldn't stop. Not when our lives were on the line. Die! Garrett's voice went high as he cried in rage and pain. Fucking die already! I pressed in again, ducking under the monster's attempt to bite. Another leg came for me, but I could see its weak spot. And then the head came free.
Something's missing here. Aha. Good old take lanes. Glad that worked out.
Free. Came free. I gasped for air. Even my lungs burned. The platform swam before my eyes, and I had a hard time staying on my feet. There was blood everywhere. I blinked at I gasped for air. Even my lungs burned. The platform swam before my eyes, and I had a hard time staying on my feet. There was blood everywhere. I blinked it away and searched for the others, praying to anyone willing to listen that they were alive. Finn sat propped against the wall by the right tunnel, cradling his severed hand in his lap. 3 dead blightpedes lay around him, of which 2 had multiple arrow shafts sticking from their faces. Erin stood in the middle of the room, her left hand grasping the air above her empty quiver again and again, eyes wide open and letting out a silent scream. Tears were rolling down her cheeks and pooling at her chin. Garrett knelt by the second left passage, bleeding from his shoulder. His shield lay dented and torn beside him. And Nina. She lay on her belly in a pool of red, a ring beetle's mandibles buried in her back, looking at me. She blinked her eyes twice and tried to roll, but she winced and stayed put. Then all the sound came back at once, and I could hear myself breathing amidst the distant echo of battle coming from far inside Edwin's tunnel.
Great. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. If you are watching this, say hello. Let me know if you can hear me all right and that I'm coming through clearly, please, and thank you. And otherwise, just I'd love to hear from you if you exist and you're watching this. No pressure. You are just invited. Oh, what is this up here? Ah, my new webcam. I've just found another piece of basically saran wrap, like protective plastic coating that they put on things, and then you got to peel it off. Yeah, I want to take that off. I want it to look all shiny and nice. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right, here we go. That doesn't look very good, does it? There. Chapter 4. I gotta angle it a little bit more. Chapter 4. Everyone alive? Well, that was a frog. Everyone alive? Everyone alive? Garrett asked, forcing the words out. Talk to me. Nina groaned. Hopefully she makes that groan a little less sexual. Nina groaned in reply. Nina groaned in reply, while Finn's breathing came ragged and through wheezes. Nina groaned in reply, while Finn's breathing came ragged through breathes? Nina groaned in reply, while Finn's breathing came ragged and through wheezes. Thick beads of sweat had formed on his face, and they were trickling down to a pool at his neck. I nodded, though I knew he couldn't see me. I nodded, though I knew he couldn't see me. I nodded, though I knew he couldn't see me. I was staring at the monster I'd slain, or rather the creature I finished off, and remembered that dark red aura. My weapon had barely scratched it. If it hadn't been already gravely wounded by Edwin's party, things would have gone. If it hadn't been already gravely wounded by Edwin's party, things would have gone very differently, and all five of us would be dead. We nearly died. We nearly died. We nearly died. We nearly died, Erin said, voice shaking. But we didn't. Something in her voice. Something in her voice called to me, and I straightened. No. No. We didn't. We're all alive, and if we're gonna stay that way... We're all alive, and if we're gonna stay that way, we need to get out of this place. I turned my back on the carcass and hurried over to Erin, grabbing her by the shoulder and giving her a mild shake. Erin, hey, you good? Are you with me? She gasped and blinked twice, as if coming to, then nodded hurriedly. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm good. Great. 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 Now talk to me. I know how to hit things, but... Now talk to me. Now talk to me. I know how to hit things. I know how to hit things, but you're our medic. What do we do now? We got wounded. We got wounded. We got wounded. Talk to us. Triage. she said, control returning to her green eyes as she pushed past me, rushing over to Nina and dropping to her knees. Can you move your arms and legs? Bottle pissed bugs stuck in my back. Stuck in my back. Nina yelled, but she didn't try to get up. Nina yelled, but she didn't try to get up. Arms, legs, can you move them? Yes, now get the fucking bug out of me! In a second, Erin said and stood, rushing over to Finn next and pulling bandages from one of her pouches. You'll be fine. I need to stop Finn's bleeding first. Yes, sure. Let me bleed out, will you? Just because I shot your boyfriend a wink. As Erin worked on Finn's arm, I helped a wincing Garrett get to his feet and pretended I didn't hear what Nina had just said. It wasn't the time or place. He tried to reach for his dropped shield, but grimaced in pain and pulled his arm back. Oh, God damn it. My shoulder's busted. Don't worry, I said, grabbing his shield. We're safe now. As long as no more monsters come up through the tunnels, that is. Here. I put the battered shield around his neck and pulled his hand through the hoop. It wouldn't do much in a fair fight with... It wouldn't do much in a fair fight with, well, anything. But it might buy him a second or two. Thanks. He hoisted his spear as I knelt by Nina. We'd be dead if not for you. The way you attacked that spider... In all my years as a guard and as a scavenger, I've never seen anyone fight that idiotically. Yeah, tell me about it. I chuckled, trying to lighten the mood even just a little bit. We all fought and won. Together. I touched the mandibles sticking from Nina's back. Erin, should I pull them out? Wait for me. I'm nearly done here. Don't do anything yet, or you might hurt her more than she already is. I patted Nina on the head. You heard the lady, Nina. You heard the lady, Nina. You'll be fine. Just hold on a bit longer. Easy for you to say, she hissed and spat a wad of blood. If I live, I'm going to ride somebody so very hard just to make it clear and all. Oh. 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 Clear and all. I couldn't help but chuckle, and she did too. I couldn't help but chuckle, and she did too. I couldn't help but chuckle, and she did so. I stood and walked over to stare down at the monster. I'd killed, named Woodweaver, a variant type of monster, one I'd never even heard about before. That was too fucking close for my liking. And God, is it ugly. What do we do about your ugly ass? What do we do about your ugly ass? What do we do about your ugly ass? What do we do about... What do we do about your ugly ass? I muttered. Your ugly ass. Suddenly, the sounds of fighting from down in the tunnels died down. My heart thumped in my throat, and I had a hard time breathing. What about the woodweaver once? What about... And I had a hard time. My heart thumped in my throat, and I had a hard time breathing. What about the woodweaver? What about the woodweaver once the others joined up with us? Would they just take it? I think they won, or... Garrett asked. Garrett said. Or... I think they won, or... Garrett started. Garrett started. Garrett started. Garrett started. I think they won, or... Where'd that damn spider go? Find it, for Rift's sake! Where'd that damn spider go? Find it, for Rift's sake! Where'd that damn spider go? Find it, for Rift's sake! Edwin's voice echoed from down the tunnel. I think that's your answer, I said. I think that's your answer. I think that's your answer. I think that's your answer, I said. I said, staring at the spider. I licked my lips and turned to meet Garrett's gaze, but never even needed to ask the question as he nodded. I licked my lips and turned to meet Garrett's gaze. I licked my lips and turned to meet Garrett's gaze, but never even needed to ask the question as he nodded. We'd be dead without you, Ash. Spoils all yours. No one will tell a soul. Isn't that right? We'd be dead without you, Ash. Spoils all yours. No one will tell a soul. Isn't that right? He added. Isn't that right? He added, raising his voice. No one said anything. No one said anything. I quickly met the others' gazes. Finn gave a curt nod. Aaron ripped a monster part out of Nina's back and tossed it to the ground, but did meet my eyes for the briefest of moments. She didn't mind either from what I could see. We're full, and you're not, she said, taking out a green paste and packing it into Nina's wound. Go for it. Better one of our gets it. Go for it. Better one of our own gets it. They will definitely take it if I don't right now. They will definitely take it if I don't right now, I said, listening to the approaching footfalls. We'd agreed on the scavenging rules, but one superseded it. We'd agreed on the scavenging rules, but one superseded it. Adventurers looted first. Always. But the others didn't know it was a variant. I saw Nina exchanging a glance with Finn. Claim what? She said, forcing the words out and winking at me. I didn't see it. A big grin split my face, and I knelt, swiping it into my spatial storage. It didn't fit. The footsteps It didn't fit. The footsteps were even closer now, and I could make out that some of them were jogging. "Garrett!" Edwin's voice was just around the corner. "Are you guys alive? Are you guys alive? Are you guys alive?" I desperately dragged out every monster from my spatial inventory, the 7 carcasses piling up around me in a massacred heap. "We're alive! We're alive!" Garrett yelled. But monsters are attacking below!" Once more, I grabbed the spider. Please, please. Please, 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 fit in there, you big bastard. This time, it swiped straight into my storage, filling 8 out of the 10 slots. Edwin appeared just around the corner, his tower shield held firmly in his hand, and fire blazing along the blade of his sword. He stopped at the entrance to the tunnel and looked around. Once he saw us all moving, he wiggled his sword. The fire went out, and he sheathed his weapon. Blood ran down his right greaves, and his chest plate would need some serious hammering, yet he moved as if everything was just fine. "What the hell happened? What the hell happened here? What the hell happened here?" "We did what we were supposed to," I said, swiping in a blight peed and a branch walker. For good measure. No way I was leaving anything behind. Like we said we would. But, he said. He said and slowed, eyes taking in the 12 dead monsters spreading around the platform. "How?" I shrugged and shouldered my axe. "It was pretty easy, Commander." The silver-haired healer rushed past Edwin, almost knocking him over. "Easy, huh? Easy, huh? Easy, huh? Easy, huh? Easy, eh? Easy, eh? Easy, eh? Seems you got more guts and strength than brains if you think this was easy really look like it." That's not a sentence. Seems you got more guts. Seems you got more guts and strength. Seems you got more guts and strength than brains if you think this was what... Seems you got more guts and strength. Seems you got more guts and strength than... Seems you got more guts and strength than brains. Seems you got more guts and strength than brains if you think this was what... If you think this is what easy really looks like. If you think this is what easy really looks like. Seems you got more guts and strength than brains if you think this is what easy really looks like. The healer knelt by Finn and ripped the bandage off. Finn. Voice reference, there it is. Nope. Riftside, voice reference, Alex. Off. Here, hold your hand like... No, not like that. Here, hold your hand like... No, not... Here, hold your hand like... Here. Hold your hand like... No, not like that. Align the bone. A little more. Here. Hold your hand like... No, not like that. Here. Hold your hand like... No, not like that. Align the bone. A little bit more to the... Yeah, there. Now hold it. Benedict came limping out of the tunnel as the healer took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, tapping his staff against the ground and waving his hand across Finn's. What's the situation? What's the situation? Edwin asked Garrett as a golden glow appeared and Finn grunted, jaw clamped shut. Marcus's group retreated from their branch toward... Marcus's group retreated from their branch and towards the entrance. Unknown number or makeup of monsters followed after them. 3 bells. 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 Oh, you can hear me though, right? Good morning, Rallo. And good morning, Henrik. Let's see. Let me double check. Might be... Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, nope. Okay, no. Voice meter out. That should be good. Let's see here. You should be able to hear it. 1 second. Let me... Oh, you know what? Maybe I've got the settings wrong in Ableton. That's probably what it is. Yeah, that's what... Oh, wait, no. No, that's coming through where it should be. And towards the entrance. Unknown number or makeup of monsters followed after them. 3 bells. Oh, okay, I can turn it up. All right. 3 bells. 3 bells. 3 bells. 3 bells. Perfect. Bells. Edwin slammed his shield on the wooden floor. Benedict! Benedict! Edwin said, turning to glare at the wizard. Where's the spider? Where's the spider? The wizard. Oh. Where's the spider? Where's the spider? The wizard asked, ignoring the commander. I swear we nearly had it. I swear we nearly had it. Also, I swear we nearly had it. No, I swear we nearly had it. I swear we nearly had it. Also, why are you not dead? I cleared my throat. I cleared my throat, but before I could say anything, Garrett spoke up. Damn thing sprinted right through. Damn thing sprinted straight through, knocked me out of the way and ran up this tunnel. It was limping, I think. Maybe that's why it didn't kill us. He pointed his spear into the second left tunnel and made a jabbing motion. Frigid frostbite! 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 Benedict hissed. Benedict hissed and limped up to the opening. Benedict hissed and limped up to the opening and stared inside. Edwin, it might be invalid. Edwin, it might be invalid. Not be invalid. Not be invalid. Not a chance. I've had enough of your ideas for one day. No, scratch that. Be invalid. Not a chance. I've had enough of your ideas for one day. No, scratch that. Forever. I've had enough of your ideas for one day. No, scratch that. Forever. Edwin helped Nina on her side. We're going to have a serious chat about your role in my party when we get back. We're going to have a serious chat about your role in my party when we get back. But... No buts. No buts. No buts, Edwin. Edwin held his hand up. Edwin held up his hand and just stared at the wizard. This was my fault, and I take responsibility. But we're class blessed lucky that everyone's still alive, and I'm going to make sure that it stays that way. I'm not even sure I should have people on my team who keep testing me like you do, driving me to make the wrong decisions just for glory or a chance at greatness. Fine. Benedict turned away from the commander. He started stroking his beard and stared off into the tunnel, mumbling to himself. Keep your hand still for a week. Keep your hand still for a week at least, the healer said to Finn, and then hurried over to check Nina's back. The magic needs time to settle and regrow it. Strain it too soon and you'll never regain full use. Yes, healer. Thank you. Yes, healer. Thank you, Finn said. Edwin walked to the floor's stairs. Benedict, their archer and their melee fighter, a lanky man in leather armor and a hood. Benedict, their archer and their melee fighter, a lanky man in leather armor and hood, who had yet to say a word, gathered around him. She good to go? Yes, Commander. She'll be fine, Alex said, as he gently turned Nina. I'm nearly exhausted, so I can't really heal you for now. Your wounds may be painful, but they're not life-threatening, all right? I'll make sure you don't bleed out, and we can go. Nina's eyes were tight with pain, but she nodded. I'll buy you a beer later to make up for it. If you'll let me. I'll buy you a beer later to make up for it. If you'll let me. Looks like she already found someone to mount. Oh, goosebumps. Which part? Make it 3, Nina said, and the healer replied with a smile. Nina said, and the healer replied with a smile. Nina said, and the healer replied with a smile. He chuckled. He chuckled and made his way over to his party, nodding at Edwin. All right, ladies and gents, form up. All right, ladies and gents, form up. Step 1, we clear our way. All right, ladies and gents, form up. Step 1, we clear our way to the portal. Then we'll find the other parties. Garrett, follow close this time. And Rowan, he looked at the melee fighter. Anything comes Anything comes from behind, you step in and take care of it. Take Isaac if need be. The leather-clad fighter nodded and patted their archer on his broad back. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, good. Let's get the hell out of here. Yeah, it's like Sean Bean with Yorkshire or Newcastle. I think it might be more Newcastle. I'm not sure which accent I'm doing. Fantasy Newcastle. Old Castle. Let me see, actually. What is Sean Bean? Is he Scottish? Or York? Is he York? Sean Bean. Sheffield. It's a Yorkshire accent. That's why. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, White is narrator. And then we've got different tracks for different actors. So I'm JJ 1 to 3. Jessica is going to be 1 2. Jeff is purple. And then we've got different tracks for, Rock. Ash when he's talking to Rock. Which I'm thinking I want to do like a voice effect, like I make it different from the private thought. Private thought, you hear there's a little bit of delay and echo. Looks like she already found someone to mount. Make it 3, Nina said, and the healer replied with a smile. He chuckled and mount. Make it 3, Nina said, and the healer replied. It's a bit predatory. I'm just gonna leave that out. 3, Nina said, and the healer replied with a smile. He chuckled and made his way over to his party, nodding at Edwin. Let's get the hell out of here. Yeah, we do it this way so that there's a bit more... So that actors can... Every actor is going to download this set and be able to listen to what the other actors have done so that they're not responding blind to the actors. Blue and dark blue. Well, I mean, so we've got private thought here, and then we've got ash metallic. Yeah, dark blue is just what I've got for his private thoughts. I can change the color. It doesn't matter what color, but and then metallic is going to be when he's talking to Rock. I'm thinking that I want like just a little sheen of like a metallic sort of sound. Oh, the higher up ones. Oh, these are just like different tracks. So I keep the top one for just for Ash because he's got so much dialogue. So this is dedicated to Ash. And then these two are kind of like the supporting characters. So they'll be pretty much the same, but whenever there's like an interruption or something, I'll use this track, this second track. But for the most part, all of the side characters are going to be in that track. I pushed Garrett along, and he stumbled into the portal. Blood dripping from his shield arm. His spear waved madly, nearly taking Finn's eye out as I threw him out of the dungeon. Finn clutched his bandaged hand to his chest, face pale and drawn. The silver-haired healer had done what he could. Healing magic was powerful, but it wasn't something that could make damage just go away with the wave of a hand. It could help close wounds, stop bleeding, mend broken bone, and even reattach limbs. But the fatigue and pain remained along with the trauma. Next, Nina limped past, supported by Aaron, who threw me a worried glance. Behind me, an adventurer screamed in pain, and I turned. Behind me, an adventurer screamed in pain, and I turned, axe ready. As soon as we had started our retreat, behind me, worried glance. Ah! 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 Oh! Oh! Behind me, an adventurer screamed in pain, and I turned, axe ready. As soon as we had started our... As soon as we had started our retreat, monsters had rushed from all 3 tunnels, and Edwin had been fighting to hold them back ever since. If we had been further up, we'd all be dead. That was a fact. Fortunately, we made it down to the 2nd level, and the 2 other adventuring parties returned, monsters pressing them from all sides. Together with the 3rd scavenging group, we'd retreated down to the portal where Marcus's group had fled, leaving 3 ring beetles to stand in our way. My axe had claimed one, and Rasik's scavenger group took care of the other 2. My axe had claimed one, and Rasik's scavenger group took care of the other 2. My axe had claimed one, and Rasik's scavenger group took care of the 2 others. As Rasik and his men filed out, the adventurers retreated down and formed up in a line around the portal, the healers and mages first, with their ranged adventurers next, and finally the melees. Only one man remained on the ramp. "Edwin!" Benedict shouted at the commander, who was still fighting his way down, his tower shield holding the monsters at bay while his flame-wreathed sword cut them down. "You can't hold them on your own! Get back already!" The wizard raised his hands and cast a spell, sending an icy wind blasting across the monster-filled wall. Dozens of ring beetles started to freeze, their wings unable to let them fly back up, their claws slipping from the frozen wood, and they tumbled to the next level. Adventurers rushed in, slaying them with such precision that I didn't even care I wasn't getting any more loot. Adventurers rushed in, slaying them with such precision that I didn't even care I wasn't getting any more loot. I just looked on in appreciation of their ability to kill, and narrowed my eyes. That's exactly who I wanted to become. One day. "Keep going!" Edwin yelled, stepping onto the floor, tower shield still braced. "I'll hold them and we can regroup outside! I'll hold them and we can regroup outside! Like hell you will! Like hell you will! Like hell you will!" Benedict leaned past the line. "Like hell you will!" Benedict leaned past the line of melee fighters, frost crackling around his staff, and blasted an ice bolt through a branch walker. "Save the heroics! Save the heroics for someone who'll believe them!" I was the last scavenger inside. And stood staring up at the tree. The walls were crawling with monsters, more than I'd ever seen in one place. It was as if we'd stepped on an ant hive, except the sound of claws scraping against wood was overwhelming. Just what the hell had happened for all of them to get so riled up? Was it the Woodweaver's death? Surely not. "Firewalling! Firewalling!" another mage said, and a 5-foot-tall wall of flames burst upwards from the floor, not 2 feet in front of the commander, who cursed and jerked backwards. Alex, the healer, grabbed me by the front of my leather armor. "Out! Now!" I nodded and stepped backwards until darkness closed around me, the view searing itself into my memory as the world twisted, stretched, and then snapped back into place. The portal spat me out into the late afternoon sunlight, the morning mist long gone. Long gone. 14 scavengers stood clustered together, a few steps away. 14 scavengers stood clustered together, a few steps away from the tree. "Marcus! Marcus! You're a... Marcus! Marcus! You're a portal-pissing coward, Garrett shouted, straining against Rasix. Marcus! Marcus! You're a portal-pissing coward! Garrett shouted, straining against Rasix's grip on his good arm, holding him back from the one-eyed scavenger. We could have all died in there because of your gutless retreat! We could have all died in there because of your gutless retreat! Where was Marcus? Adventurers! Triangle! Form up by the portal. The gate. The first group is dead. Plenty more. Only attack trash mobs if... First platform! Move! Don't you... We take orders from Commander... The portal needs Don't you tell me what and... I don't know how to spell Shia LaBeouf. Gutless retreat! It was just a couple... It was just a couple of ring beetles! It was just a couple of ring beetles! It was just a couple of ring beetles! Marcus shouted back, chin up and hand resting on his sword's pommel. Blood matted his tunic from cuts on his neck, already scabbing over. His team huddled up behind him, all four sporting fresh wounds. It's not like anyone died, right? It's not like anyone died, right? Oh, shit. I don't think I got the... is that... When is Rasix's first line? Oh, all right. I think I've got it. There it is. We take orders from Commander Edwin. We take orders from Commander Edwin. It's not like anyone died, right? It's not like anyone died, right? Because we died, right? We died, right? Because we killed them first. Died, right? Because we killed them first, Rasix spat. His iron-studded staff was planted into the dirt, a fresh dent near its crown end. A fresh dent. His iron-studded staff was planted into the dirt, a fresh dent near its crown end. When we needed our portal clear, where were you? Running like a frightened children. Running like frightened children. Children. You didn't see our branch. 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 One of Marcus's people shouted, but another pulled them back, muttering something about how they should keep quiet. You think we had it better? Nina hissed and struggled forward, held up by Aaron, face white with pain. Look at us! We nearly died on the third level, and then we had to fight our way out. Nobody asked you to fight! Marcus stepped forward, jabbing a finger at Garrett. You could have run past them too! There was space! Leave them for the adventurers! Leave them for the adventurers to deal with! My anger crashed over me like forge-quenched steel. I pushed between them and grabbed Marcus by his tunic, lifting him off his feet.
He might have been taller, but I'd spent years hammering metal and the strength. He might have been taller, but I'd spent years hammering metal and... He might have been taller, but I'd spent years hammering metal, and the strength in my arms was second to none among the non-classed. He might have been taller, but I'd spent years hammering metal, and the strength in my arms was second to none among the non-classed. Put me! 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 His words cut off as I shook him, and the clearing went dead quiet. Listen carefully, Marcus. Listen carefully, Marcus. Listen carefully, Marcus. I said, my voice low and steady, despite the excitement and fear from earlier still washing through me. It was the kind of voice... Listen carefully, Marcus. Listen carefully, Marcus. I said, my voice low and steady, despite the excitement and fear from earlier. I said, my voice low and steady, despite the excitement and fear from earlier still washing through me. It was the kind of voice Pa used when I'd really messed up. Your cowardice almost got my friends killed today. If that ever happens again, if that ever happens again, I let the words hang. We couldn't. I shook him again. Pioneer justice is swift, Marcus, and we all know what happens to those who get killed. And we all know what happens to those who get killed. And we all know what happens to those who get killed by others. And we all know what happens to those who get others killed by cowardice. And we all know what happens to those who get others. And we all know what happens to those. And we all know what happens to those who get... And we all know what happens to those... Bah! And we all know what happens to those who get others killed by cowardice. We are family. We are family and take care of one another. We don't run. We live and die together. We live and die together. Murmurs of assent rippled through Rassik's group despite our earlier disagreement. Garrett spat on the ground. Marcus's good eye darted between everyone's faces, but he didn't find any sympathy. We would have died, he said, his voice smaller now. There were so many. Marcus's good eye darted on the ground. Marcus's good eye darted between everyone's faces, but he didn't find any sympathy. We would have died. We would have died. He said, his voice smaller now. There were so many. Then you die protecting those people. Then you die protecting those people standing behind you. I pulled him closer. Because that's what we do. That's how we survive out here. Together. I don't even want to go home without my friends, Marcus. Think about that for a second. Someone cleared their throat behind me. What exactly is going on here? What exactly is going on here? I turned my head to see Alex, the silver-haired.
I turned my head to see Alex, the silver-bearded healer, stomping towards us. I turned my head to see Alex, the silver-bearded healer, stomping towards us. The silver-bearded healer stomping towards us. The other adventurers spilled out of the portal behind him in a steady. The other adventurers spilled out of the portal behind him in a steady stream. Nothing to worry about, Aaron said, stepping in front of him. Just scavenger business. Alex's eyes narrowed, but before he could speak, I set Marcus down, made a show of brushing dust from his chest, and then smoothed his tunic. No harm done. I patted his shoulder. This time. But remember what I said. We're all family, and family takes care of one another. This time. But remember what I said. We're all family, and family takes care of one another. Right? Marcus opened his mouth. But Edwin's voice cut through the clearing. Pick up the pace, people! Pick up the pace, people! Pick up the pace, people! Pick up the pace! Pick up the pace, people! He emerged last from the portal, shield scored with new marks. We're heading back double time! Help those who can't run by themselves! We're heading back double time! Help those who can't run by themselves! We're heading back double time! Help those who can't run by themselves! Now move! I met Marcus's eye one last time, then turned to help Nina. We had a long walk ahead of us. And a rare variant spider carcass as loot. End 4. There we go. That's the end of chapter 4. Let's see. How long is that one? That is... yeah, almost 20 minutes. Not too bad. Drink some water. How's everybody holding up? How you doing? Yeah, this book I'm probably narrating at about a 1 to 3 ratio. So 1 hour for every 3 hours of narration. And that is slower than usual. Sounding great, good. What's my usual? About 1 to 2. Usually, a lot more projects have a lot more narration. There's a lot of dialogue in this one, which is great. It's gonna work really well for sound booth theater. It's the number of characters. And there's a lot of interruptions, which slows me down a little bit as well. And just I'm also taking a lot more care, I think, on this one than maybe I normally do. Or not a lot more care, but there's a lot of considerations and ideas that I have that I want to try kind of changing my style a little bit. More interruptions, more kind of choosing what stays and what goes. Like, I'm kind of editing and trying to make it... I'm editing while I go in order to make it just more of the catered to the audio listening. So sometimes that's taking out like a dialogue tag, like he said or she said. Little things like that. That sometimes if it's a dialogue between two people, you don't need to hear the he said, she said, back and forth, that sort of thing. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really glad that you're feeling that. I feel very connected to the script, which is the most important thing. That's going to come through, and I feel connected to the characters. I really love anytime Edwin's lines come up. I'm like, yes, I get to say oop. Yeah. I think also like my pre-read, having a really good idea of where this is going is also keeping me moving forward. Well, keeping good momentum. All right, let's see here. All right, here we go. Hey, nice. Writing book 2 while listening to book 1. That works well. Chapter 5. Sentinel Station's bells rang as we ran across. Sentinel Station's bells rang. Sentinel Station's bells rang as we ran across the killing field, the ground thundering behind us. Monster wave! A guard shouted from the walls. Everyone inside! Inside! I took more of Nina's weight as we moved as fast as we could, considering. I took more of Nina's weight as we moved as fast as we could, considering our sad state. The stumps of felled steel husk trees dotted the open ground between us and safety. Arrows whistled overhead, striking monsters charging from the forest edge. Move! 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 Edwin called. The camp's scouts had found us as we closed. The camp's scouts had found us as we closed on the ramp. The camp's scouts had found us as we closed on the camp, moving past us to check the forest for monsters. They'd returned shortly after, screaming for us to get back to base, but were still providing some help, despite not being. They'd returned shortly after, screaming for us to get back to base, but were still providing some help, despite not being combat-oriented classes. We sprinted for the walls. Well, we tried to sprint. After all the fighting and hours of walking, most of us could barely manage a stumbling jog. Arrows and spells flashed past. Ice, fire. Arrows and spells flashed past. Ice. Arrows and spells flashed past. Ice, fire, lightning. The station's defenders did their best to cover our retreat and cull whatever numbers they could before the creatures reached the base. Great fucking timing. A branch walker leaped over a stump, claws extended. An arrow took it through the eye before it could reach us. Almost there! Aaron shouted. With a boom, the gates closed behind the logging teams. With monsters this close, they couldn't risk leaving them open for us. Instead, the defenders lowered the wooden elevators for the wounded and rope ladders for the rest of us.
We reached the walls just as the first wave of monsters burst from the tree line. I put Nina onto the wooden plank and made sure she was secure. I put Nina onto the wooden plank and made sure she was secure. Hold on! Hold on! On the other side, 2 guards jumped off the wall and she soared up to the battlement where others caught her. Thunder cracked as lightning. Thunder cracked as a lightning spell zapped from overhead and streaked into the monsters. Garrett stepped onto another platform, and I grabbed a rope ladder, holding it out to Erin. Get up! And don't... Get up! I don't want... Get up! I don't want to have to scrape you off the wall. Thanks, she said. Get up. I don't want to have to scrape you off the wall. She said, voice shaky. A grin spread across her face as she rushed up, her blonde hair waving. With Finn having found another elevator, my team was up, and I started up the ladder. With Finn having found another elevator, my team was up, and I started up the ladder behind Erin. I looked behind me. I looked behind me. Rusted ruin. It was one thing to look down. It was one thing looking down from above the walls onto the horde, and another one entirely to see the monster wave coming right at you. It was safe to say that I almost did something very unbecoming. Monsters were flowing from the forest, and not only... Monsters were flowing from the forest, and not only the normal ones. There were sap-seekers, ring beetles, and branch-walkers by the dozens. Even larger... There were sap-seekers, ring beetles, and branch-walkers by the dozens. Even larger creatures the sigil didn't recognize yet. How come they'd followed us out all the way? Twisted Titan monsters barely ever came out to attack the base. What's happening? Did we somehow piss off the dungeon? I reached the top and rolled onto the walkway next to Erin, my chest heaving. Her hand found mine. Her hand found mine, and we both squeezed for comfort. I'm scared, she said, her voice low. I squeezed even harder, just to make sure she knew I was there. Not just me, but everyone else, too. Yeah, this was definitely something else. I never want to be outside during a wave again. Yeah, this was definitely something else. I never want to be outside during a wave again. She said, voice shaky. A grin spread across her face as she rushed up, her blonde... She said, Get up. I don't want to have to scrape you off the wall. Thanks, she said, voice shaky. A grin... I never want to be outside during a wave again. It was frightening. It was frightening. It was frightening. It was frightening, though part of me was excited. This whole adventure was the exact thing I needed. I'd gone to a dungeon, chopped a variant in the face, and got out with a storage full of loot. What wasn't there to love? Other than almost getting eaten. All along this side of the wall, the guards ran the elevators, bringing the wounded up to the battlements in safety. Simultaneously, more defenders were rushing out from the branchway, some still fastening the straps on their armor. Get the wounded through the rift! Get the wounded through the rift! Get the wounded... Get the wounded through the rift! Get the wounded through the rift! Edwin's voice carried over the chaos as he hopped over the wall next to Erin and me. Everyone else to your positions! We've got monsters to kill! Everyone else to your positions! We've got monsters to kill! I pushed myself back up against the wooden wall. My limbs felt like lead. But I
My limbs felt like lead, but I had a smile on my face. I'd fight hard, if not for myself, for Aaron and the others. Below, claws scratched against steel husk-reinforced walls as monsters hurled themselves at the gates and walls. Then they started climbing. "Here they come! Here they come! Here they come!" a guard shouted, and more picked up the warning. A branch walker's head appeared over the edge. Despite the tiredness dragging on me, I swung hard. The blade bit deep into the rotting wood of its neck. The monster's eyes went wide as I wrenched the weapon free, and it fell, taking 3 more creatures with it. A ring beetle scuttled over the wall. My axe crashed down, splitting its shell. The creature's innards splattered across the wall. I was tired, so damned tired, but I wouldn't falter. Not now. Like hammering iron! Ugh! From up top, the monsters were somewhat easy prey. The defensive positions were perfect. Elevated platforms provided clear shots for archers, while the wall's width let warriors like me swing freely. The steel husk trees anchoring the walls created natural strong points, their metallic bark seemingly immune to the monsters. Their metallic bark seemingly immune to the monster's claws. It did allow them to climb, but not all kinds of monsters could pull their weight up. "Don't get cocky, kid! Don't get cocky! Don't get cocky, kid!" Edwin said. He'd placed his shield by the wall, and wielding his flaming sword in He'd placed his shield by the wall and wielded his flaming. He'd placed his shield by the wall and wielded his flaming sword in a hand-and-a-half grip, butchering the monsters as they came. "Got it, Commander! Got it, Commander! Got it, Commander! Got it, Commander!" Between 2 monsters, he looked over at me and shrugged. "But you're not wrong." Something gnawed at me, though. The thrill of the dungeon still pumped through my veins, the raw, primal challenge of facing monsters head-on, where every move could mean life or death. Up on the wall felt safe. It was almost boring. I shook my head, brow furrowing. What's wrong with me? Safe is good. Safe means everyone gets to live. The memory of Nina's wounds and Finn's severed hand. The memory of Nina's wounds and Finn's severed hand flashed through my mind. That's what happened when we had to go out there. I got the loot, and we got out alive. Survival tops everything. Another branch walker appeared, and I introduced it to my axe. All right. Ooh. Fun stuff. It's not the end. Do-do-do-be-do. Oh, back cracking. My arms and back burned as I cleaved through. My arms and back burned as I cleaved through what felt like the 100th monster. They'd been relentless, wave after wave focusing on our section of the wall. It was strange. Well, it was strange, almost as if they were targeting us specifically. I'd be flattered if I wasn't so tired, or had my spatial storage filled before the fight even started. Never seen such an attack before, nor so concentrated. If I didn't know better, I'd say they carried a grudge for our visit. Commander Edwin said as he stood beside me, wiping monster gore from his blade. Impressive work up here, Ash. Thank you, sir. I wiped the sweat and grime from my brow. Just doing my part. Get some rest. Head through the rift. You've more than earned it. I'll keep a spot open for you next time, too. Got a good head on your shoulders. I nodded. My body aching. My body aching. Erin had gone a while ago, her quiver empty and fingers trembling with exhaustion. As I stepped up to the elevator, Edwin called after me. Oh! Once you get your class, if you ever need a constant party, you let me know. Thank you, sir. I might just take you up on that. Thank you, sir. I might just take you up on that. I descended to the floor of the camp and approached the rift. Despite the exhaustion, my heart soared. The spider carcass in my inventory was unlike anything we'd ever looted, and I couldn't wait to show it to Pa. Between it and the other monster carcasses, we'd have enough materials for the forge to get by. Between it and the other monster carcasses, we'd have enough materials for the forge to get by for a while. The rift's green surface rippled before me, and I took a deep breath. The rift's green surface rippled before me, and I took a deep breath and stepped through. It was time to go home. The familiar tingle faded as I stepped onto solid ground. First came the fresh air and the cacophony of people shouting and working on various things, and only then did I feel the afternoon sun hit my face. I took a step to the side, stretched my arms towards the heavens, and let other people through. Some were exiting, like me, while others made their way Riftside. Ferrying various necessities. I made it. I actually bloody made it. 50 feet of packed earth spread out before me. Sharpened stakes lay flat around the massive circle where the rift stood, except for four spots, ready to be lifted into place in case of a monster breach. It hadn't happened since Sentinel Station went up, but our job was to prepare. It hadn't happened since Sentinel Station went up, but our job was to prepare so it would never happen. Around the circle, the earth slanted down into trenches, which again were carved into a second perfect circle. Workers hefted pickaxes and shovels, working on what would someday become... Workers hefted pickaxes and shovels. Workers hefted pickaxes and shovels, working on what would someday become our moat, filled with water to slow any monsters that might come through the rift. For now, though, the trenches were a work in progress, like everything else in Dawnwatch. Their rhythmic strikes and grunts echoed up, mixing with the constant sawing and hammering from the wall beyond. First steel, Dawnwatch's innermost wall, rose behind the trench, a circular palisade of steel husk-reinforced wood that followed the moat's curve. The wall stretched 30 feet. The wall stretched 30 feet high, topped with a wide wooden walkway where guards patrolled. Four bridges spanned the gap between my position and first steel, each supported by... Four bridges spanned the gap between my position and first steel, each supported by thick wooden stilts. Four bridges spanned the gap between my position and first steel, each supported by thick wooden stilts driven deep into the earth. The eastern and western bridges led to massive gatehouses, their gates raised to allow traffic, while the other two bridges simply ended at the walls. Wooden elevators hung ready above them for emergency. Wooden elevators hung ready above them. Wooden elevators hung ready above them for emergency evacuations. Wooden elevators hung ready above them for emergency evacuations, just in case it had to be abandoned. Nobody wanted to be left trapped inside the walls with the monsters. Nobody wanted to be left trapped inside the walls with the monsters if they ever made it through. I turned and glanced to the northeast, seeing the scaffolding just above First Steel's battlements. The keep's skeleton was taking... the northeast, seeing the scaffolding just above... I turned and glanced to the northeast, seeing the scaffolding just above First Steel's battlement. I turned and glanced to the northeast, seeing the scaffolding just above First Steel's battlements. The keep's skeleton was taking shape, steel husk lumber forming its bones. It wouldn't be finished for months, perhaps even a year or more. But I loved looking for progress every time I returned home, and I knew workers would be crawling across it like ants, hammers ringing against nails. Unfortunately, there weren't that many of us. as it wasn't that big of a rift compared to some out there. The Kingdom couldn't spare the extra manpower necessary to speed the project. The Kingdom inhaled deeply, letting the tension drain from my muscles. The scent of fresh-cut steel husk, industry, and humanity filled my lungs. Sawdust tickled my nose, along with smoke from cooking fires and the earthy smell of turned soil from the trenches below. Home. Thanks, Sin. Home. The pressure that had built since entering the dungeon, the weight of responsibility, the tension of combat, the constant vigilance, it all melted away as if it had never been there. My shoulders relaxed, and I felt lighter than I had in days, and much more excited to be home. Ash! Ha! Good to see you back! Ash! 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 Ha! Good to see you back! Ash! Ha! Good to see you back! Walt's voice boomed from atop First Steel's eastern section. The captain's red beard caught the sunlight as he waved down at me, and I couldn't help but grin. He was an imposing man, and someone I could consider calling a friend. "Hey, Walt! How'd it go in there? Everyone lives?" Everyone lives, and my spatial's full." Everyone lives, and my spatial's full." Ah! Full? Oh, come on, Ableton. Do the thing I said that I want you to do. Thank you. Full? Ah! All right. Oh, I'm glad you're digging it there, Henrik. Full? He barked a deep belly laugh that seemed like it could shake the walls. If anything, the man was a good-hearted soul who made sure to look out for everyone, especially us scavengers. "The rifts blessed you today, lad. The rifts blessed you today, lad. The rifts blessed... The rifts blessed you today, lad. The rifts blessed you today, lad." There we go. That's Walt. Today, lad. 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 Hey, lad. Nah, I don't like it. I chuckled and waved back. I chuckled and waved back before heading for the... I chuckled and waved back before... I chuckled and waved back before heading for the Eastern Bridge. The sounds of construction rang out all around me, and in all honesty, I could never get enough as it wrapped around me like a warm blanket. After the eerie silence of the dungeon, broken only by monster screams and the clash of weapons, the noise of work was welcome. The gatehouse loomed ahead, its raw wooden walls still waiting for the steel husk reinforcement. Through the gate, I could see the processing station. 100-foot square sluice. Is that how I pronounce that? Sluice gate? Yes, it is. Ding, 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 ding. Through the gate, I could see the processing station. Through the gate, I could see the processing station. 100-foot square sluice surrounded by high wooden walls. Those walls needed reinforcing too, but it wasn't a priority. Nothing but the first line of defense was, and rightly so. Stories about rift breaches were the stuff of nightmares that I didn't even want to think about. We'll get to it. Kingsworth wasn't built in a day either. We'll get to it. Kingsworth wasn't built in a day either. Inside the sluice, two tables were set up as usual. A line of people from our expedition waited at each. Nina stood at the first, negotiating the sale of her loot to Harold Markwell from the Adventurers Guild. The old mage's remaining arm gestured as he spoke, probably trying to negotiate a better deal on the unknown monsters. The old mage's remaining arm gestured as he spoke, probably trying to negotiate a better deal on the unknown monsters. Erin waited behind Nina, her honey blonde hair catching the light. 5 more adventurers shuffled in place behind her, and I could see they were eager to get it over with. 5 more adventurers shuffled in place behind her, and I could see they were eager to get it over with. 5 more adventurers in place behind her. 5 more adventurers shuffled in place behind her, and I could see they were eager to get it over with and go home. Bet they'll drop the price with every specimen sold. Bet they'll drop the price with every specimen sold. Bet they'll drop the price with every specimen sold. I'm glad Nina and Aaron are getting theirs. Bet they'll drop the price with every specimen sold. I'm glad Nina and Aaron are getting theirs in early. Crackety-crackety-crack. My ankles are crackety-crack. At the second table, Rasik. At the second table, Rasik. At the second table, Rasik faced off. At the second table, Rasik faced off with Isabel Pine. At the second table, Rasik faced off with... At the second table, Rasik faced off with Isabel Prime. Isabel Prime? Optimus Prime? At the second table, Rasik faced off with Isabel Pine, the bank manager's elegant figure straight-backed in her chair. At the second table, Rasik. At the second table, Rasik faced off with Isabel Pine, the bank manager's elegant figure straight-backed in her chair, as they too haggled over the price. Garrett stood second in line, his wounded shoulder bound, but his face eager. Huh. No sign of Finn. Probably already off to see Victor. Not surprised he's gambling on the monsters. No sign of Finn. No sign of Finn. Probably off to see Victor. Not surprised he's gambling on the monsters having gems, overtaking the guaranteed payment. My friends were safe. My friends were safe. Wounded and tired, but very much alive. Wounded and tired, but very much alive. After everything we'd faced in the dungeon, seeing them here, arguing over the prices and counting coins, made my chest tight with happiness. Oh, Harold! Oh, sorry. Oh, Ash! Oh, Ash! Harold called out, waving his one arm. Come show me what you've brought back! Come show me what you've brought back. Come show me what you've brought back, eh? Come show me what you've brought back, eh? Still not settling. Oh, Ash! Harold called. Come show me what you've brought back. Come show me what you've brought back. Come show me what you've... Come show me what you've brought back. Come show me what you've brought back. Oh, Ash! Oh, Ash! Harold called out, waving his one arm. Come show... Harold called out, waving his one arm. Harold called out, waving his one arm. Come show me what you've brought back. I kind of like that. A little bit older, but there's something about the I'm gonna give him a bit of a stutter, a little bit like Jeff Goldblum. Yes, I'm gonna add a little bit, if you're all right with that, Henrik, making him a little bit more eccentric, if you will, a bit wizardly, a little bit potentially unscrupulous, maybe. Yeah, you don't really know what he's thinking, but he's an adventurous type, that is for sure. He loves to speak with adventurers and speak with a new talent that is rising and yes, bring them under his wing, maybe even. He only has one wing, as he always says. Yes. Very all right with that. All right, cool.
Come show me what you've brought back. Oh, Ash!
Harold.
Come show me what you've brought back, hmm? Come show me what you've brought back, hmm?
Let me save you some time, Isabel cut in, her voice carrying across. Isabel cut in, her voice carrying across the sluice. Whatever he's offering, the bank will beat it. Picturing British. P. Older, stern, woman. He's got a bit of PTSD too. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. That'll work then. Older, stern woman. Very put together. Picturing RP. Oops. Rename. JT. Across the sluice. Across the sluice. Whatever he's offering, the bank will beat it. I smiled and shook my head. Sorry, folks, but this all's going straight to Pa. Aaron stepped out of line, touching the shoulder of the man behind her. Hold my spot. She darted over and threw her arms around me, planting a quick kiss on my cheek that made my skin tingle. There probably wasn't much to it, as she wore her heart on her sleeve, but I liked to think that one day, well, maybe I could offer her something more than scavenging. For now, that was still just a dream. Thank you, she whispered, for saving my life out there. Oh, you can take that out. Whispering. Thank you for saving my life out there. Well, I said, trying to sound casual, but my heart was doing backflips. What are friends for? She smiled and stepped back, and I couldn't keep the grin off my face as she shot me a wink. Nina's not the only one looking for a mounting, it seems, Garrett said with a grin. Nina's not the only one looking for a mounting, it seems. Aaron stalked over and slapped him. Aaron stalked over and, Garrett said with a grin. Aaron stalked over to him and slapped his chest several times, and he cried out in pain. Must have hit his wounded shoulder in the process. Good. He deserved it, teasing her in front of everyone. Be careful. She bites. Be careful. She bites. I yelled over my shoulder and hurried for the eastern gate. Maybe I wasn't a proper adventurer yet, but today I felt like a hero. Today I felt like a hero. I passed through the sluice's heavy gate and stepped into Dawn Watch proper. The East Main Road stretched dead ahead through the heart of our growing settlement, like the spokes on a wheel with the rift at the center. On the left side of the road, the Royal Bank's freshly painted facade gleamed in the royal. On the left side of the road, the Royal Bank's On the left side of the road, the Royal Bank's freshly painted facade gleamed in a royal blue. On the left side of the road, on the left side of the road, the Royal Bank's on the left side of the road, on the left side of the road, the Royal Bank. Blah. On the left side of the road, the Royal Bank. On the left side of the road, the Royal Bank's freshly painted facade gleamed in a royal deep blue and silver. Above, flapping in the breeze, hung their flag, showing the Thuringian. Above, flapping in the breeze, hung their flag, showing the Thuringian silver castle on a blue field. All right, I gotta check that pronunciation. I don't remember. I think it was Thuringian. Was it Gian? We're about to find out. Come on, then. Thuringian. Come on. Be slower, laptop. Won't you slower? Take your time. You're a lovely laptop. I love you so much. You do so many great things. You're normally thinking much faster than I am. There you are. That's a good laptop. Thuringian. Above, flapping in the breeze, hung their flag, showing the Thuringian silver castle on a blue field. The Adventurers' Guild Hall stood opposite, painted forest green and red. The Adventurers' Guild Hall stood opposite, painted forest green and red, their flag a red tree of life on a green background. The two buildings faced each other like grumpy old men across a garden wall. While each had the same goal, they approached it with wildly different methods. And that was great if anyone asked me, as monopolies were rarely good for ordinary folk. Instead of passing through the gate, I turned right and onto the innermost of the circular roads which ran through Dawnwatch. It would take me to the industrial quarter and our smithy. The familiar sense of coal smoke and heated metal grew. It would take me to the industrial quarter and our smithy. The familiar sense of coal smoke and heated metal grew stronger with each step, and so did my grin. Ash! Ash! Carl's excited voice rang out as small boots thundered across packed earth. The 10-year-old skidded to a halt in front of me, eyes shining like silver coins. What was it like? Did you fight lots of monsters? Was it scary? Ash! 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 I like the first one better. Did you fight lots of monsters? Was it scary? There we go. Let's save that as a voice reference. Carl? What have you done, Carl? Boodoo, boodoo. Thuringian. Monsters? Was it scary? I looked down upon the boy. Was I ever so young and eager to hear stories of my elders? Hell, I probably still was. And maybe I wasn't a level 60 warrior who could single-handedly defend a city from a horde. And maybe I wasn't a level 60 warrior who could single-handedly defend a city from a horde, but that wasn't what Carl needed today anyway. Still, I wanted to make an impression. I was also a hero of sorts, after all. Wasn't I? I'd stood shoulder to shoulder with the commander and hacked down dozens of monsters on the wall alone. I fished a silver coin from my pocket, glanced around conspiratorially, and pressed it into his palm. "Silver?" he said, his eyes going wide as plates, staring at the gleaming metal. "Oh, thank you!" It was amazing. It was amazing, Carl. And dangerous. It was amazing, Carl. And dangerous. I crouched. Before him. "So, we're gonna need more parties to tackle it and all. So we're gonna need more parties to tackle it and all the ones to come after. So we're gonna need more parties to tackle it and all the ones... So we're gonna need more parties. So we're gonna need more parties to tackle it and all the ones to come after. You know what that means, right?" He nodded hurriedly. "Uh-huh. Mm-hmm." He nodded hurriedly. He nodded hurriedly, still staring at the coin. Likely more than... He nodded hurriedly, still staring at the coin. Likely more than he'd ever had for himself. "That's right. We're gonna need more scavengers and adventurers." "That's right. We're gonna need more scavengers and adventurers." I paused, waiting for him to catch up. Slowly, his gaze drifted up from the coin to meet my eyes. "Exactly. We need you to work hard and grow stronger so that one day..." "Exactly. We need you to work hard and grow stronger so that one day you can join us too. We need you to work hard and grow stronger so that one day you can join us." "You really think I can do it, Ash? Become a scavenger like you? And maybe even an adventurer?" "Of course you can." I ruffled his hair. "Just look at me. I started right where you are." Carl clutched the silver, bouncing on his toes. "Oh, did you get any monsters? Which faction are you selling them to? The Kingdom? The Guild? Or Victor the Alchemist?" Get your head on straight, Carl, and try again." I gave him a frown. His face scrunched up as if he was trying to stare through a wall, and then suddenly it brightened. You giving him to your pa?" Of course I am," I said, rewarding him with a smile. Did you find any new ones? Can I see? Please?" I glanced around the street. It was nearly empty. Why not give the kid a memory of a lifetime? No, why not give the kid a memory of a lifetime? With a grin, I opened my spatial storage and pulled out the ring beetle carcass, nearly dumping it on his shoes. "Roar! Roar!" I said, and gave it a wiggle with my boot. Carl's scream echoed off the buildings as he bolted down the street, and I quickly stored the monster, chuckling to myself. "Ash Aldrich!" Martha the seamstress called from her doorway, trying to look stern but failing to hide her smile. "That boy won't sleep for a week now!" I don't know why I'm picturing that comedian, what's his name? John Mulaney, in like an old woman's outfit just for this part.
That boy won't sleep for a week now. Ash Aldrich.
What are those called? Porch, Old porch nanny. Bit part. I shrugged. True enough. But maybe he's... But... True enough. True enough. True enough. But better he's scared now than gets brave ideas about hunting monsters before he's ready. A healthy dose of fear might keep him alive long enough to actually become a scavenger. A healthy dose of fear might keep him alive long enough to actually become a scavenger. She shrugged. I gave her a wink as I hurried past, and joy. I gave her a wink as I hurried past, and joy spread through me as I stepped onto our small plot of land. It wasn't much, but it was ours. The smithy stood right before me, smoke billowing from its 2 chimneys, and hammering away inside was Pa. Not to be confused with porch pirates, exactly, yeah. That's what came to my mind first, actually. Hey, good. Yeah, let me know whenever you get goosebumps. That's handy. I get goosebumps, too. I got them there as well. There were a few, like, lines that, I felt the goosebumps when he was walking through town. All right. Let's see if we can get one more chapter. I'm really excited to do this next chapter. Sin, you tell me, when we get to pause lines, you tell me if you recognize who I'm channeling. All right? Yeah, that's it, Henrik. Chapter 6. I stepped through the wide workshop doors and onto the packed earthen floor, reveling in the familiar sense of coal, heated metal, and leather. Light seeping in from the skylight caught dust motes dancing in the air. The workshop stood exactly as I'd left it. 2 anvils out on the floor, barrels full of water nearby, the forge by the back wall towards the garden, away from the rest of the house, work tables set against the right side wall next to the door inside, and in the far corner stood the experimental forge Pa had built for monster materials crackling away. Every tool hung in its proper place. Pride swelled in my chest. We'd built this place together from the ground up, turned it from the patch of dirt. We'd built this place together from the ground up, turned it from a patch of dirt given by the king into a proper smithy. Every beam, every brick, every tool rack, they all held memories of shared work and quiet lessons from the last several months. Pa stood at the main anvil, his massive frame silhouetted against the flames. His bald head gleamed with sweat as he worked, muscles rippling beneath his soot-stained shirt as he hammered away at a piece of chest plate. Muscles rippling beneath his soot-stained shirt as he hammered away at a piece of a chest plate. Muscles rippling beneath his soot-stained shirt as he hammered away at a piece for a chest plate. Through the window connecting to the house proper, I saw Ma singing inside, her short cropped hair dancing around her as she worked at the stove. Her short cropped hair dancing around her as she worked at the stove. The rhythmic hammering stopped.
The rhythmic hammering stopped mid-strike. Pa turned. Pa turned. His face. Pa turned. His face was set in its usual mask of stern lines and pockmarks, though I knew better than to mistake it for displeasure. It was just his way. Ma glanced up at the unexpected silence, her eyes finding mine through the window. They went wide and were accompanied by a broad smile. "Ash! You're home!" Home! She burst through. She burst through the connecting door and practically flew across the workshop, wrapping me in a fierce embrace that smelled of fresh bread and herbs, underlaid with the ever-present hint of coal smoke that clung to everything in our home. Despite her daily proximity to the forge, she somehow always managed to look and smell clean, and had even tried to instill that same skill into Pa. But he kept reasoning with her that he'd have to scrape the skin off his flesh to get the smell out. But he kept... Despite her daily proximity to the forge, she somehow always managed to look and... Despite her daily proximity to the forge, she somehow always managed to look and smell clean, and had even tried to instill that same skill into Pa. But he kept reasoning with her that he'd have to scrape the skin off his flesh to get the smell out. That was probably true. "Look at you!" She pulled back, hands fluttering over the bloodstains. On my armor and the bruises on my face. "What happened? Are you hurt? Did you eat? You look thin. Did you need to get treated by healers?" Some things never changed, and that was good. Some things never changed, and that was good. Some things never changed, and that was good. It was those little details that made me appreciate... the time home more than anything. It was those little details that made me appreciate the time home more than anything else. He's only been away for half a day, woman. What's the fuss about? How could he have lost weight? Pa set aside his work, dropping the red-hot metal into the quenching barrel with a hiss before hanging up his tools. He watched us, waiting for Ma's flood of concern to run its course. When she finally paused for a breath, Pa put his hand on my shoulder, his dark eyes sweeping over me. "Welcome home, son." His deep voice rumbled through the workshop and it made me feel safe. The man had always been a stalwart shield that protected us ever since I could remember. "Good to have you back." Then his stern expression cracked, revealing a broad grin that lit up his whole face. He opened his arms wide, and I stepped into his embrace. His strong arms wrapped around me, and I suddenly was 8 years old again, safe and protected from all the world's monsters and politics. "I was afraid," he whispered so quietly only I could hear. "So damn afraid when they said a larger wave than usual had attacked the base. But you're home now." I nodded and hugged him back, starting our ritualistic battle of who could squeeze the life out of the other.
I had yet to win, and taking into account his considerable strength, it would still take me a while. "Did everyone make it?" Ma asked as I wheezed, and Pa finally let go of me. "Oh, old man, you're breaking my bones one day. Old man, you'll break my bones one day. Yeesh! Oh, God, old man, you'll break my bones one day," I laughed. "Break my bones? Old man, you'll break my bones one day." But yes, Ma, everyone made it out alive and well. Everyone made it out alive and well. I rubbed the back of my neck. Though it was close. Nina took a nasty hit. And Finn. I trailed off, remembering the spray of blood and the screams. They'll recover in time. The dungeon itself... The dungeon itself was incredible. Like nothing I've ever seen. The tree is hollow inside, and you can walk up alongside the walls to these platforms, and there are branches stretching out in different directions filled with monsters, including many we've never seen before, and... "Come!" Ma grabbed my arm, tugging me towards the door leading into our home. "Tell us everything over lunch. I've made your favorite." I'll never say no to that. I'll never say no to that. I'll never say no to that. God knows I could use a bite right about now. I'll never say... Made your favorite. I'll never say no to that. God knows I could use a bite right about now. And on cue, my stomach rumbled. The three of us started laughing and headed inside. The rich, sweet aroma hit me right on the nose as we entered the kitchen. My mouth watered at the sight of the deep red-brown chunks of pork belly in the clay pot. My mouth watered at the sight of the deep red-brown chunks. My mouth watered at the sight of the deep red-brown chunks of pork belly in the clay pot. Tender meat ready to fall apart at the touch. Ma! Red-cooked meat? Red-cooked pork? But the spices alone... It must have taken you hours. I stared at the feast. Prepared to be served. It must have taken you hours. It must have taken you hours. She smiled, pulling out 3 plates. "Well, did you bring back anything good from your scavenging run?" I nodded, unable to keep the excitement from my voice. "Quite a good haul, actually. Show you after lunch? Or show you after dinner? So should it be lunch or dinner? Because they're about to have lunch, but he says dinner here. Ooh. Ooh. Also, Sin, do you recognize who I'm channeling? Are you able to tell who I'm channeling for Dad? Probably dinner. Okay. So they're having lunch now. They're going to have some time later, and then they'll have dinner, and then he'll show them. Quite a good haul, actually. Show you after lunch? Show you after dinner?
Pa limped over and brought the rice from the cooker. Pa limped over and brought out the rice from the cooker. Spatial storage full then. Spatial storage full then. The grin spread wide across my face before I could stop it. Both of them knew that look. They'd seen it often enough when I was a boy, usually right before I confessed to some mischief. Ma's eyes widened. All the slots? Show you after we eat? Good work. All the slots? All the slots? You filled all 10? My grin grew even wider, and I nodded. Show you after dinner? Show you after we eat? Show you after we eat? Show you after we eat? Pa limped over and brought out the rice from the cooker. Spatial storage full then. The grin spread wide across. There you go. My grin grew even wider, and I nodded. Pa slapped the counter, rattling the dishes. And that's why we're having red-cooked pork! Finally seeing the payoff from all our hard work, all those investments in gems, training, and equipment. He reached across and gripped my shoulders. Oh, this is just the beginning, son. Just the beginning of our rise. Sure is, Pa. Just watch and see. Mouth watering, I grabbed a plate and waited for Ma to serve. Today went from outstanding to the best day in my life. To the best day of my life. Yeah, I'm just going to do a slight tweak there. Best day of my life. To the best day of my life. Oh, this is just the beginning, son. And that's why we're having red-cooked pork! Finally seeing the payoff from all our hard work, all those investments in gems, training, and equipment. He reached across and gripped my shoulders. Oh, this is just the beginning, son. Just the beginning of our rise. Sure is, Pa. Just watch and see. Mouth not another bite. No, not another bite. No, not another bite, Pa said once we were done, pushing his plate away. What bite? Ma grabbed the plate and held it up to her eye. Ma grabbed the plate and held it up to her eye. Not enough left on here to interest an ant. Pa chuckled. Ant. On here to interest an ant. That's what I said, didn't I? On here to interest an ant. That's what I said, didn't I? On here to interest an ant. That's what I said, didn't I? On here to interest an ant. That's what I said. On here to interest an ant. That's what I said, didn't I? Didn't I? He winked at me as Ma good-naturedly tapped him on the head. Incurable! That's what you are! She bent down and gave him a kiss. And brilliant. Now why don't you two go out and crack open those bodies? I'll be right out after cleaning. By the way, Henrik, if you're wondering why I stumble over the female lines, it's because they're just placeholders. Jessica's going to re-record those lines and they'll sound much better. She shook her head. She shook her head, still unable to come to terms. She shook her head, still unable to come to terms with what I'd told them. A mutated monster? Never thought I'd see one. You better believe it, Ma. Ooh, you better believe it, Ma. Come on, Pa, I said, getting to my feet, snatching the dishes from Ma and hurrying over to the stairs and back down to the first floor. You won't believe how disgusting these things are. You won't believe...
You won't believe how disgusting these things are. After placing the dishes on the bench, I rushed out to the smithy while Pa stomped down the stairs. He was just as excited as me, but still tried to hide it. The man was an angel in a bear's body. The man was an angel. The man was an angel in a... The man was an angel. The man was an angel in a bear's body, but he still had appearances. The man was an angel in a bear's body, but he still had appearances to keep up. Or so he wanted us to believe. I pulled the ring beetle out of my spatial storage and set it down carefully on the butchering table, along the wall opposite to the door into the... I pulled the ring beetle out of my spatial storage and set it down carefully on the butchering table? I pulled the ring beetle out of my spatial storage and set it down carefully on the butchering table along the wall. I pulled the ring beetle out of my spatial storage and set it down carefully on the butchering table along the wall, butchering table along the wall opposite the door into the two-story area. Butchering table along the wall opposite the door into the two-story area. Butchering table along the wall opposite the door into the two-story area. I pulled the ring beetle out of my spatial storage and set it down carefully on the butchering table along the wall opposite the door into the two-story area. The chitin gleamed dully in the forge light. Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, I try to make the placeholders. I try to stay in the performance. But thanks. I'm glad you like my female voices. Area. I'm not going full 100% with the placeholders, but I still try to, stay connected at least and not just go down here like this for all the female lines because it's not going to actually get recorded and into the actual final audio. The chitin gleamed dully in the forge light. The chitin gleamed dully in the forge light as I reached back to... The chitin gleamed dully in the forge light as I reached back to pull out the next monster. Hold on there, son. Hold on there, son. Pa's hand landed on my shoulder. One at a time. One at a time. We have all the time in the world. Unless you're supposed to be somewhere with that, what was her name again? Arinia? I rolled my eyes. Aaron, Pa, and no. Then you know there's no hurry. A messy workshop. Then you know there's no hurry. A messy workshop. A messy workshop is an accident waiting to happen. We finished together. A messy workshop is an accident waiting to happen. A messy workshop is an accident waiting to happen. We finished together. We finished together, and I sighed. But aren't you curious to see them? I clenched my fists with excitement so they shook. They're completely new. Pa stroked his beard, trying to hide his smile. Of course I am, but I'm also a smith. He crossed his arms over his chest. And what does a smith have besides a strong back and arms to squeeze the life out of a thief? And what does a smith have besides a strong back and arms to squeeze the life out of a thief? I took a slow breath. I took a slow breath. When he got into his mood, it was best to just humor him. Either that, or leave and come back later, and I was in no mood to wait. A smith has the patience of a saint, I muttered. A smith, I muttered. A smith? A smith. A smith has the patience of a saint, I muttered. His smile broke free. That's right. Then he pushed me carefully aside. Now get out of the way so I can see... Now get out of the way so I can see this new monster. Now get out of the way so I can see this new monster. See this new monster. All right. New monster. I chuckled as Bob pent. I chuckled as Bob. Oh my God. I chuckled as Bob. Pa bent over. Pa bent over. I chuckled as Pa bent over the ring beetle, his hands moving across its shell and expertly tracing the curve of a massive mandible. The claws are... The claws are strong enough to push into wood and hold them there, even at a vertical angle, I said, pointing at the hooked appendages. And definitely sharp enough to punch. And definitely sharp enough to punch through armor. Garrett field tested that. Pa harumphed. They got these small wings. They got these small wings, but they're weak. Probably useless, too. Yeah, Pa. These beetles came in groups of 3 or more, but never flew. And those mandibles... Ooh, weak around the eyes and the underbelly, but that exoskeleton is tough as nails. Pa hummed to himself as he began taking the beetle apart. His butchering tools, specially made for monster processing, clicked against its shell, and I could feel the hairs on my neck stand upright. It was the moment of truth, or rather it was the moment of truth, or rather the part that we enjoyed most. Interesting. Very interesting. The shell could make for excellent armor reinforcement. He lifted one of the claws, testing its edge on his thumbnail. And these would make fantastic arrowheads, maybe even daggers. He inspected one closely, turning it in the light. Not a scratch on it, son. It's in perfect condition. He grinned. You know, if we could get enough of these claws and find a way to split them without compromising their strength, what a scale mail we could make from... You know, if we could get enough of these claws and find a way that... if we could get enough of these claws and find a way to split them without compromising their strength, what a scale mail we could make from these. Pa! I couldn't hold back any longer. Would you please check if it has a gem? He smiled knowingly. All right. Truth be told, I'm dying to know myself. Pa's knife sliced carefully through the creature's center. Suddenly, his hands went still. By the smith's own hammer. By the smith's own hammer. He breathed. Then he grinned and plunged his hand in, drawing out something that made my breath catch. The mind gem was smooth and oval, like a large pearl, clear as spring water and blue-white.
clear as spring water with blue-white patterns swirling inside. When Pa moved it, the gem caught the light of the flickering flames like morning frost on glass. Ha 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 ha! Ha ha! I whooped loud enough to wake the dead. Ma! We got one! Ma peeked through the door, and Pa held up the gem. Her face split into a radiant smile. Didn't I tell you it would be a day to celebrate? Pa swept the ring beetle's remains into his own storage with a... Pa swept the ring beetle's remains into his own storage with a satisfied nod. We'll carve it up proper. We'll carve it up proper later. We'll carve it up properly later. He held out the mind gem to me. Congratulations on your first dungeon gem, son. You've earned yourself. You've earned yourself. We're proud of you. We're proud of you. Know that. Thanks, Pa. Yeah, I'm having a blast. Thanks, Pa. Thanks, Pa. I took it carefully, still marveling at its beauty. Think I'll hold on to it for a bit. Maybe I'll take it when I'm tired. He nodded approvingly and prodded my arm. Well, let's see the next one then. Let's see the next one then. Well, let's see the next one then. I pulled out the branch walker from my storage and had it drop on the table. The monsters were way too heavy and large to carry, and luckily, whenever we pulled things from our storages, it allowed us to place them wherever we wanted, but within arm's reach. The monsters were way too heavy and large to carry, and luckily, whenever we pulled things from our storages, it allowed us to place them wherever we wanted, but within arm's reach. Pa circled the monster slowly, studying it from all directions. These eyes, he whispered and leaned in close. They seem to react to light. Wonder what would happen if we carved lenses from them. That's your father for you, Ma said, and patted my shoulder, always thinking several steps ahead. He began methodically working through the corpse, examining each part with excruciating thoroughness. Pa! Took you long enough. He chuckled. Took you long enough. He laughed and started cutting. He laughed and started cutting into the center. He laughed and started cutting into the center. He laughed and started cutting into the center and went completely still. Another one? Pause. I breathed. Pa's grin was answer enough as he pulled out a second mind gem, identical to the first. Ma! 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 We both shouted. She came and kissed me on the cheek, put her arms around me, and squeezed almost as hard as Pa had earlier. She came and kissed me on the cheek, put her arms around me, and squeezed almost as hard as Pa had. She came and kissed me on the cheek, put her arms around me, and squeezed almost as hard as Pa had earlier. Great job, son. But this is almost unheard of. 2 gems in a single run? Then she held her hand out. And raised an eyebrow. Here you go, my dear, Pa said, gently placing the gem in her hand. It disappeared somewhere into her apron. Good job to you too, honey. She pulled Pa's face to her, and She pulled Pa's face to her and kissed him on the lips. "Ooh, 1,000 silvers," I muttered, shaking my head in amazement while Pa ogled Ma as she returned inside. Right in the center of a monster. Right in the center of a monster. Almost makes up for trying to kill me. Almost makes up for it trying to kill me. Almost, Pa said, sweeping the branch walker into his storage and rubbing his hands together. All right, son. I'm ready for the big one. All right, son. I'm ready for the big one. Give it to me. My heart quickened as I reached into my storage. This was the moment. This was the moment I'd waited for. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. The mix of branchwalker and spider materialized. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. The mix of branchwalker and spider materialized, and Pa recoiled as it all spilled out on the table. The work table groaned under the monster's weight, and for a moment we just stood there, waiting for it to come crashing down. But it didn't. God above. God above. His face went pale. You killed this? I nodded. That's... He swallowed and turned to squeeze my shoulder. That's an amazing job, son. I'm proud of you. This is massive. The size of a damn horse. It's... no. Massive. The size of a... massive. The size of a damn horse it is. No, even bigger. No idea what we can use it for. No idea what we can use it for, but something outstanding, that's for sure. Something outstanding, that's for sure. As he reached for his tools, I grabbed his arm. Pa, please, for the love of the rift, check it for gems first. All right, just this once, since it's a variant. The knife glinted as he began to cut. But keep in mind, the reason we don't just look in the center is because it blinds too many of the true. But keep in mind, the reason we don't just look in the center is because it blinds too many to the true. But keep in mind, the reason we don't just look in the center is because it blinds too many to the true value of the carcasses. Aggregated across 100 monsters, there's usually more value in their materials than the gems, and one shouldn't be sad when there isn't one inside. He reached into the center. We should celebrate the materials. We should celebrate the materials and what they can do for the fight against the monsters. Gems are just icing on the... His whole body. He trailed off, his whole body going rigid. Excitement flushed through me. Another gem? Pa's jaw clenched hard, a look I knew all too well. Something was wrong. What's the matter? Close the gates. Close the gates. Close the gates. His voice had turned cold and as hard as steel. Why? Do it, now! Do it! Do it, now! I rushed to comply, worry flooding my system as I pulled the heavy wooden doors shut and dropped the bar. Ma! Pa called out. Close up the shop! Close up the shop! But Rowan's coming by soon with the new short sword. He'll have to come by later. Do it, now! He'll have to come back. He'll have to come back later. He'll have to come back. He'll have to come back later. Do it now! There was a moment's hesitation in her voice, but she hurried to comply. Yes, darling. Wooden slats echoed across. Wooden slats echoed as we sealed up the smithy and our home like the steel husk-reinforced mini-fortress it was. Ma and I hurried back to Pa's side. My heart was beating just as hard as it had been when I first faced off with the monster. Just what the hell had he found in there? What is it? I asked. Watch. Watch, he said simply. He turned his back to the spider and extended the cut. I tried to lean in for a better look, but Ma held me back. Ouya, ouya, ouya. There was a wet squelch. There was a wet squelch as Pa reached in with both hands this time. When he pulled them out, my legs nearly gave way. Is that... There was a wet squelch. There was a wet squelch as Pa reached in with both hands this time. When he pulled them out, my legs nearly gave way. Is that... Yes, son, it is. But... How? What does this mean? Pa's eyes narrowed in the forge light. It means we're either debt-free or in a shitstorm of trouble. Or in a shitstorm of trouble. Or in a shitstorm of trouble. It means we're either debt-free or in a shitstorm of trouble. Debt-free or in a shitstorm of trouble. It means we're either debt-free. It means we're either debt-free or in a shitstorm of trouble. 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 Booty. There we go. It's about another hour of content here. Maybe keep it going. Let's see. I don't want to start on that. Wow. Yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm having a great time. I love the suspense that was woven into those interactions of just like we don't even know what they just pulled out of the monster. So I've been playing with that. I've been making the gaps between the characters speaking a little bit longer, and I'm gonna make a note here actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a blast. But alas, that is, I think, the end of my narration for today. I think that's all that I ought to do. I've got some other things to get done. But hey, hey, 3 chapters. Another hour of content we're working through. That's about 1/10 of the audiobook probably complete now. So, hey, thank you all for watching and listening and
paying attention and just enjoying, hopefully. Please like and subscribe, all that good stuff if you can, and if not, no worries. And Henrik, thank you for joining and sharing your thoughts as well. It's great having you here during these sessions to, share your thoughts and let me know if there's anything that is amiss or anything that you like and where you get the chills, all that stuff. All right, Rollo90, thank you for hanging out. Everybody else, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, take care and happy listening. Bye-bye.